Hey, good morning. It's 1989, and two men are standing on the back of a freight train in Chicago, about 100 miles south of there. They were known as fierce competitors. Some might even say that they were enemies, but not on this cold November day. You see, they did a legendary handshake deal on the back of this train, unsure of what the future would be, however, knowing that they both shared a dream and a vision to completely change the industry. It took courage. It was bold. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Courage and boldness that it takes to drive innovation. Good morning. I'm Shelley Simpson. I didn't totally expect to come up to Vanilla Ice, but I can relate to that from my college days. And so I see a lot of college students in the audience, and I thank you for coming and participating. This is exciting to see Northwest Arkansas has grown so much. As president and CEO, I've spent the last 17 years on our executive leadership team, and I have had the privilege of leading in a lot of different areas. You know, over my 30-year career, part of that has been innovation that I've seen the company go through, as evidenced by 9 of my last 16 positions never existed before I stepped into that role. It shows the level of change and growth that the company has experienced. As a matter of fact, 30 years ago, we were a $1 billion company. Fast forward to today, we're north of $12 billion, known as one of the largest transportation companies in North America. I've had the privilege of leading 2 turnaround stories, really taking 2 segments, leading at the president level of segments, from losing money to making money, and I've also had the opportunity to do 2 startups inside our organization. So you might say there's entrepreneurship meets innovation, even inside a legacy company that has been around for 63 years. So today I'll share stories on those bold moves that we made that created the level of innovation that we've experienced in our growth pattern today. And in particular, I'll walk you through how technology has empowered our company, the bold bets that we made. But let's take it back to that train in 1989.
Truckers, railroad people did not talk to each other, didn't go to the same conventions, didn't communicate. And he and Mike Haverty became friends. With that, they came up with this idea of putting the trailers on the trains, and look what we have today, just because of the friendship of 2 people that said it can be done when others thought you couldn't.
When they said it could be done, when others said it could not. It was somewhat like a rallying cry for someone like our founder, Mr. Hunt. You see, that's Mrs. Hunt, also one of our founders, speaking of who now has the namesake of our large company, J.B. Hunt. Beside him, in the handshake agreement, was Mike Haverty. Back then, he was president of the Santa Fe, and then later became the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. That legendary handshake happened November of 1989, and they weren't sure what to expect from that. They were sure that they could change what everyone expected in transportation. They came up with this product named Quantum. It was something new and revolutionary in our business, and we've continued to innovate even over the last 30 years. You see, this approach with Quantum really allowed our customers to think about, instead of us doing long-haul trucking, that might be a term that you're familiar with, although I will tell you there's not a lot of long-haul trucking done today on the road. Long-haul trucking has moved to train and truck combining together. You see, we started with this idea that was called Quantum, and we actually logoed it Quantum. And we went out to our customers in those very long lengths of haul that would be from Los Angeles to Chicago, some 2,000 miles that our drivers loved. We would then go talk to our customers and say, hey, we want to put this on the train. We're going to do the local pickup. We're gonna let the train do the majority of the shipment length of haul, and we're going to do the delivery. That part of that then transitioned, recognizing Mr. Hunt saying, you know, we don't just need a quantum trailer that's separate. Our customers started to adopt it, so we actually created a homogeneous fleet. We did those with trailers, and you'll see those here on the screen. And those trailers, what we recognize, anytime you have really great innovation, you start to realize, well, what went right and what went wrong. What we realized was these trailers were not necessarily equipped to be lifted by those big cranes and put on to the train. Started creating damage, and at that point, we started working towards thinking about how can we move into double stack containers, which is really what you see today. You see, we had to go think through, because this container did not exist the way we wanted it. You see, Mr. Hunt believed that quality intermodal service could be really high if we controlled key points in intermodal. Part of that was making sure that we did our own dray, meaning our trucks, our drivers would perform the pickups and make the deliveries. He also believed that we should own our own containers. He also believed that we needed a separate chassis. It's the wheelbase that the box actually sits on. And that, by itself, became one of the biggest innovations inside our intermodal history. You see, we went to 3 or 4 manufacturers and we started talking to them about having this concept of the container with the chassis that would only fit our chassis. You see, in the world of intermodal, there's what's called a shared chassis pool, which means you're at the mercy of if you can find a chassis for your container to make those fit. Mr. Hunt said, no, I want to have our own chassis. We want to be in control of our own destiny. And so we were able to create, to this day, the only chassis that actually fits a J.B. Hunt box. You see, there's no way anybody can go to our shared trailer pool because it would not fit their container. You would try to put it on and it would not go on. That alone created huge innovation inside the organization. We produced 4,000 to 5,000 of these containers, and really up until 1996, 97, we're starting to get a flow of what makes sense and how we should be thinking about it. We started adding new services like temp controlled, so things that needed to be refrigerated. We actually launched about 14 years ago. Went to the market to say, okay, you have drive-in goods, now you can have temperature controlled goods. And you saw length of haul in our business shrink significantly in the truckload market because intermodal became the most efficient way to do business in total. Now we have several transload facilities located at our port locations around the country, and those also help fuel what we can do from an intermodal perspective. But most recently, we actually launched what we say is back to the future. We launched a service called Quantum. Now, for those of us that have been with the company for a long time, we knew what that meant. Many of our people didn't know what that meant. It was a nod to our past of what really made sense in the very beginning with the legendary handshake between Mike Haverty and Mr. Hunt. You see, Quantum was really to address why customers are not moving shipments off the nation's highways into intermodal. We know it's more sustainable, we know it's cost effective, and we know it's predictable. What we recognized was customers needed what I would say more concierge service. They really need us to understand exactly what they need for us to deliver on expectations from our customers. That product now is around 99% on time in delivery. That's somewhat uncommon in the intermodal space, and that's bridging the best of both worlds. One of the best railroads in the business with one of the best transportation companies in the business, putting those two things together and launching Quantum. If we think about where today intermodal sits, intermodal now is the most efficient land transportation in North America, and we are the largest intermodal provider in North America. You see, if you think about how big intermodal's become, I wonder if Mr. Hunt and Mr. Haverty actually thought about this. See, it's the largest part of our organization. We do about 2 million shipments, and let me put that in perspective. You see, a full freight train can handle about 107 containers on the bottom. You double stack it, we're at 214 containers. If you actually line up our 2 million shipments, we nearly go around the circumference of the earth. That's like moving an intermodal shipment every 15 seconds. As a matter of fact, since we've been here, you can imagine how many shipments we've picked up, craned up, and is moving on intermodal today. And that's all because two men drove a courageous culture, weren't afraid of what wasn't possible from others, but dreamed about what could be possible. And it takes courage to do something that's not been done before, to do something that you bet on yourself. There'll be plenty that tell us why we can't. You have to think about why we can. That was embedded in our culture early on, courage. And Kirk Thompson, who was an early mentor to me, really coined that in my mind, how we had to have a courageous culture as an organization. You see, back in 2000, I had the privilege of getting to work directly with Kirk Thompson. And with Kirk, we were going through a separation. Remember when I said we had a homogeneous trailing fleet? We had a fleet where a customer could load trailers or containers for trucking and containers for intermodal. And so for a customer, it was a simplified approach to the business. What we realized was running those businesses together started to create problems inside our profitability. We were just certain that intermodal was weighing down our trucking company. And we went through a major change for our customers that we called Operation TC. That was Operation Trailers and Containers, which means we had to go to customers and we had to share with customers that I know that they loaded any container and we could move that over the road or intermodal, but we actually needed to give them trailers for over the road shipments and containers for our intermodal shipments. You can imagine the change management you have to go through with a customer. They say you're harder to do business with. Why are you making things more difficult? But one of the things that revealed through that process was actually intermodal was making money and our trucking company was $1 billion segment and it lost $7 million. You see, I stepped into that segment and started working directly with Kirk, and we went through what we call a pricing renaissance. And one of the things that we talked about was how can we change the trajectory and the long-term sustainability of our trucking company? And we went through a pricing discipline that was also big. It was also bold because it was taking our entire organization that, think about this, our salespeople largely led our pricing group. That might tell you a hint of why we weren't making money. To having our pricing teams start to change. We started thinking about and started using math models. Our engineering team came up with what we called Eagle, and it really created balance and optimization around what shipments we should actually move in our system. I remember being on maternity leave. This was summer of 2001, and we had a very large customer coming in to see us in the boardroom. I came out of maternity leave because our key executives, they asked for that session. And so I came in for the session. Kirk Thompson was sitting at the end of our boardroom. I remember exactly where I was sitting because it's so impressioned in my mind today. They had flown down. It was a $40 million customer, and they wanted to make sure we understood what was about to happen. The head lady stood up and said, we want you to understand you're going to go from $40 million to $1.8 million. It was in that instance. Kirk Thompson stood up at the end of the table, tucked his shirt in, and said, well, I'm surprised we got that much. I can tell you this, if we're going to go broke, we're going to be well rested. We've priced your freight for what makes most sense for us to make money and make a fair return. And we totally understand if you have someone else that you need to use, but this is what it's going to take for J.B. Hunt to do it. You see, when you get to the point of indifference in a business, the level of courageousness that you have completely changes. You see, we were already losing money. So you can have all the courage in the world to say we're going to reshape and retool our business overall. That set the stage for our entire company, that legendary meeting. It went past the boardroom. It actually made it inside our entire company. Did you know that year, we hauled about half of their business. We went from losing money to making about a 12% margin on their business. A margin that was sustainable, that was fair, that allowed us to properly return on our invested capital overall. It was gutsy. It was a call that had to make. But that's when we were blending our art with our science. You see, our science was coming out of our engineering organization, our IT organization, that helped us remodel and rethink. It's scary times when you're taking business today. And by the way, that story was not just for one customer. That story happened over and over. We were completely changing our freight mix. We were completely changing what freight we wanted to haul with them, they had traditionally not known us for, to what would make sense. So you can imagine the scary times as you're walking through that. But again, that science kept leading us to say, here's what the network should look like. And if you move to this network, here's how much money that you can make. That started our pricing renaissance inside the organization. Today, if you were to come inside the company, we have 100 people that focus every day on $180 billion of bids that we do and perform on behalf of our customers annually. That's all because that change that had to be made, that was bold and courageous, that moved us from being pricing all based on art to a blend between art and science. But another example that took a lot of courage was a bold bet to the tune of $500 million. You see, I was sitting in a marketing meeting in 2013, and we had some customers that were driving us towards more technology. They wanted to connect differently with us. They wanted to move from phones and writing to more online. And we had developed what we called at the time Shipper 360. That platform allowed our customers to manage their business, but also come online and see. They had visibility. They understood the shipments versus having to call internally. And so we were in that marketing meeting. We were spending time reviewing the results of Shipper 360, and what they said was we had 800,000 hits to our website for Shipper 360. Now, we were very encouraged because we hadn't really publicly announced Shipper 360. It was more internal and word of mouth to our customers that were asking us for it. We had not gone to commercial launch. But actually, what surprised us in that meeting was our head of marketing said the fourth most trafficked reason anyone comes to jbhunt.com is if you are a carrier trying to do business with JB Hunt. And carriers had to weave through several pages to find the one 10-year-old page that actually had our load board, and they had done that 1 million times. It was in that moment that we took a step back and said, wait a minute, we have both parts of a marketplace. We have our shippers on Shipper 360, we have a million times hit from carriers, and we hadn't even worked on a technology strategy around that. We realized that that could turn to another bold bet. And in 2017, we launched our digital freight platform called JB Hunt 360.
The JB Hunt 360 platform brings supply and demand together in one online marketplace, simplifying the freight matching process for everyone. Here's what the power of the platform can do for you. Finding the capacity you need in today's highly fragmented market can be challenging. But the JB Hunt 360 platform brings shippers and carriers together in one online marketplace, giving you access to nearly 1 million trucks so you can find the right capacity at the right time. The JB Hunt 360 platform helps you manage costs by bringing unmatched capacity and transparency to the quoting process. Enter your shipment details, and seconds later, get a list of quotes at market-relevant rates, giving you the power to select the quote that works with your budget. JB Hunt 360 improves service by making your day-to-day business operations easier. Whether you're a large corporation or a small family operation, the JB Hunt 360 platform gives you the visibility and insights you need to grow your business. Track your shipments and get insights that can help you reshape the way you do business in the future. The JB Hunt 360 platform can help you grow. And as more shippers and carriers join, the power of the platform grows too. Join the JB Hunt 360 platform today.
You see, if you watch that today, you might think, so what? If you'll walk back with me 7 years ago, it was a so what. See, the same words Mrs. Hunt said, that people didn't think we could do it, was exactly the experience we had when we launched JB Hunt 360. I was our chief commercial officer then, responsible for the launch of 360 and how we would take that to market. And you can imagine how many people told us that it wasn't possible, that carriers would never do business that way, that carriers wanted relationships, they didn't want to use technology, but we knew better. They didn't know we were sitting on that data from that previous marketing meeting. We also did lots of business with carriers, and we understood that business was changing. And when we launched April of 2017, we not only launched our $500 million commitment into technology, but we also, at the time we didn't realize, we had a large competitor announcing nearly within the same day as us, a little company called Uber. Uber Freight launched the exact same time. We were all under wraps. Actually, no one knew about this inside our organization unless you were on our technology team or on my small commercial team. I'll never forget walking out to our sales summit and walking out, giving them a perspective of how innovative and different their work would be, how it would change our business for the future, how we would have customers and carriers now interacting together. And think about this, everyone that said no, there were so many that said yes. Like we do with anything, we often talk with our customers, and our customers will lean into these areas. And inside that for our customers, we actually showed them a concept of the marketplace. Just before we launched, about 6 months before, they actually loved the thought process, and they became that early pilot for us. You see, we were talking customers through what this new concept would be. We also were talking our people through it. Because see, our technology was not meant to replace them. It was meant to empower them, to help them with decision making, to help them move forward. Within our first year of launch, we actually received a tech award from in our logistics space. We were in the top 5. We were the only legacy big trucking company that received that award. We were behind little companies like Amazon, Tesla, companies like that, sitting inside the top 5. It's because it was so revolutionary at the time. You fast forward to what that was for us. It went from this concept to now our entire platform is called JB Hunt 360. We use that both internally and externally. So we use it internally for our teams, built of 25 different products, and now we externalize that for both our customers and our carriers. For perspective, when they said that carriers wouldn't like to do business this way, remember that picture I showed you earlier with the phone up here? See, our idea was to take that phone from being up here to being right here in the palm of their hands, giving them information that would completely change the way that they do business. What took us 7 years to onboard a number of carriers took us only 18 months in our platform. 7 years manually, old systems and processes, 18 months through technology. That's how much it empowered our business overall. It was so successful for us, we got a phone call a little over 3 years ago from Stanford University. They wanted to write an entire white paper on JB Hunt 360 And they also started teaching a class on it. Earlier this month, I dialed in on Zoom for that class, and we were able to talk about the innovation that we went through as an organization. They had the same questions that maybe some of you have that aren't based in Arkansas. They might think about why? Why J.B. Hunt? How can J.B. Hunt get this accomplished? See, they didn't know we had that entrepreneurial mindset, that same mindset that said we can instead of what we cannot. We went on to develop a program called 360 Box. You see, in that same session I talked about from our customers actually getting a sneak peek that said, yeah, I'll help you pilot it. This was what they asked for. They said, we want to pilot your business in what we call live space. That basically means we show up to a shipper, it's our truck and our trailer or someone else's truck and trailer, we load it and we leave. That's about half the market. If you look at the other half of the market, that market requires trailers in a trailer pool. If you've ever been to a big DC, you see those trailers sitting out there. That's what a trailer pool would look like. See, the idea was to take our platform that was already successful and to launch this concept for our customers on the other half of the marketplace, thus putting the two together, completing a full network. If you think about where our J.B. Hunt 360 platform then could take it, we then could think about any type of shipment, including intermodal, launching inside the marketplace. And today, J.B. Hunt 360 has become a leader inside this space.
You have the power, and we have a trailer solution that helps carriers and shippers keep freight moving. 360 Box by J.B. Hunt adds capacity to the supply chain through a trailer pool and drop and hook solution. And that's where power-only carriers like you come in. Interested in making 360 Box work for you? Let's go over the steps for a successful 360 Box tour. First, search for a power-only load on the J.B. Hunt load board. Choose Book Now or place an offer on the load. Note, the negotiated rate is for the full tour, which includes the load and the equipment moved on the front and back ends. Confirm that you're ready to use a J.B. Hunt trailer to complete the load and use the mobile app to provide updates. Then, sign the trailer interchange agreement if needed. The load is yours. You'll be notified of a trailer location within 12 hours of the loaded equipment move. You'll also receive confirmation when the new equipment segment has been coupled with your load. The tour will be auto-tendered and is accessible in Carrier 360. Next, assign it to a driver. Once assigned, they can execute each segment of the tour from the mobile app. Make sure the driver tracks the load with Carrier 360, and as progress is made, the driver will make check calls when they pick up the original empty trailer, drop the empty trailer at the shipper, hook the loaded trailer at the shipper. Within 12 hours of the delivery time, you'll receive confirmation of the trailer delivery location. Upon returning the equipment, the load is complete. Then, you'll be ready for your next 360 Box load. Just check out the Carrier 360 load board, filter by power only, and book a load. Note, you may not use the trailer for another load unless the load in question is within the J.B. Hunt Power Only network. The 360 Box program from J.B. Hunt is convenient, works on your schedule, and helps keep freight moving. Book your Power Only load with 360 Box today.
See, now you might know when you see those trailers on the road exactly what they do. You see, you saw the first part for shippers, the second part for carriers. It was innovative for us, but we had to teach the market how simple it was to interact with J.B. Hunt. If you actually looked at what it said at the beginning, you go and select Power Only. That's because we started with the legacy part of our business, the brokerage piece that was live, and we added that to it. It then created this platform that our carriers could actually utilize that they hadn't had access before. Now think about this. There's 3.5 million trucks in the US. Over 90% of those operate with 10 or less trucks. How much technology do you think they have at their fingertips? Not a lot. This changed the game for carriers because what they once only had through a load board that they used their phone to find a shipment actually transformed where they didn't just have access to live loads, but now drop and hook shipments. You think about what we had to do organizationally to change that. It was significant in our company, and actually in the third quarter, our box program was the only part of our business. In the middle of a 2-year deep freight recession, it was the part of our business that actually grew overall. It tells you what's possible when you think innovative and big and you put technology to actually further accelerate the way we think organizationally. And what started as a challenge became a strategic advantage for our company. You know, at J.B. Hunt, we like to say it takes all of us, all 33,000 of our people, to do their work with excellence, to really make our brand promise come to life. And for us, our people, it's our responsibility for our motoring public to remain safe. You see, safety is also a story of innovation. It's a story of courage organizationally. If you think about the organization after deregulation in the 80s, we grew significantly, adding thousands of trucks per year for several years in a row. And that went from being a regional carrier to a large national carrier. We started seeing trends in safety that we didn't necessarily like, and we started recognizing this was an opportunity for us. We actually started thinking about what else could we do from a safety perspective now that we are large and national. And we put together a team that worked on different ideas that would change the trajectory of the organization, the way we thought about safety from then on. You see, one of those big ideas was to give our drivers a 30% raise. We actually went from having driving schools and made the suggestion to shut down our training and driving schools, and instead to focus on drivers that had experience, that we knew could be safe, and we could actually coach them from beginning with the company all the way through to retirement inside their career. If you think about what the company has done over the course of this time period, we started by naming a chief safety officer inside our organization. It was one of his first executive roles inside our company. We then went on several different journeys as a company, and I think what's important for you to see, what we call a preventable DOT collision, which basically means it's towed, there's someone that's injured. That's the way to think about those. Those are going to be more major as far as crashes. If you look, I talked about the 1996 pay package that we completed. In 2007, we actually put on automatic onboard recording systems, and that allowed us to start tracking and monitoring and measuring better what would happen from an hours of service, how long a driver could actually move. In 2011, we did a forward collision warning system, and that significantly reduced rear-end collisions. Now, in your personal car, you probably have that where it alerts you when you're getting too close, am I right? Back in 2011, that was new technology, and we deployed that inside our trucks. In 2016, we had video recording equipment, and that actually allowed us to have lane departure warnings. So when we were trying to turn right, if there was someone in our blind spot, we could actually start to take notice of what that would look like. And our most recent technology, and I would tell you, this alone has been one of the most significant technologies we've implemented. Last April of 2023, we implemented our inward-facing cameras. And so you can see the camera in the center, our drivers moving on. It actually leverages AI to identify potential risks both inside and outside of the cab. It's actually helped exonerate many of our drivers that would have been brought into a litigious matter, that now we have video evidence, external and internal, showing what was happening in front of us, to the sides of us, and now what was happening in the cab of the truck. What it does for our drivers, it takes really good drivers and makes them even better. In 2023, we had record safety performance inside the organization. Now we're completely outfitted with this new technology, and for us, we had a 25% reduction in our DOT preventables per million miles in 2022. So if you think about the change that's occurring inside the company, continuing to move forward. And although we'd reduced by 25%, we're actually on track in the year 2024 to have an even better year. You see, technology now is the backbone of safety and how we think about it. And technology empowers our drivers to actually make better decisions. It actually gives them information now that tells them how they can become a better driver and be safer while on the road. On track to do it again, but we're not finished until our DOT preventables can go to zero. You see, this year we celebrated many of our million-mile drivers, and we've actually had 21, I want you to hear me, 21 4-million-mile safe drivers, and 3 5-million-mile safe drivers. Imagine what that takes to be completely safe for 5 million miles. It's a feat that very few get to experience in their career. Of the 3.5 million drivers, you can imagine the number that actually get to wear that Medal of Honor in the trucking business. It's something we celebrate not just within our own company, any company that can achieve 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million mile safe drivers. We don't just back that up with actually monetary awards, which is over $100,000 as a 5 million mile driver. But we also bring them into our corporate campus. So if you're 2 million miles or more, you get to celebrate in our largest celebration of the year, focused on the heartbeat of our company, our professional drivers. Those drivers get the opportunity to bring whomever they love that they want to celebrate that time with. Some will bring in maybe a spouse, a friend. Some will bring in 10, 12, 14 family members and friends. It's their opportunity to spend time in the moment where our entire organization comes together to celebrate and honor their remarkable achievements. See, their dedication to safety and excellence, that's what makes us who J.B. Hunt is today. And we're on a company that thinks about our vision with a clear mission. You see, in 2017, I talked about when we launched JB Hunt 360, I was standing at a conference called Freight Waves, very large conference. I can't even tell you the thousands of people that were there. And I launched this concept, JB Hunt 360, but I actually launched our mission of JB Hunt 360 to create the most efficient transportation network in North America. You see, our technology was at the heart of that mission. But what happened, as I kept saying our mission to create the most efficient transportation network in North America, as we came back, we started to realize that actually that mission could apply to our entire organization. To create the most efficient transportation network in North America means to have the most efficient land transportation in North America, called intermodal. To build the most efficient dedicated contract fleets inside our dedicated business, to leverage the power of our platform to actually make our carriers more efficient overall. So we took our mission from our technology platform called JB Hunt 360, and we elevated that to our vision as an entire company. You know, these are the things that I got asked at Stanford, and I say often today. Who says innovation is only for startup companies? You see, I think when you can take a legacy company of 63 years and have an entrepreneurial mindset that really spearheads innovation, the amount that you can do between both really just fuels your future. Who says disruption only happens out of Silicon Valley? And what would you attempt to do if you knew that you could not fail? See, today, technology went from having this announcement that we were spending $500 million 7 years ago to now becoming a bedrock for our company. It's actually core to who we are, and now it's a foundation. We call it technology that empowers, and it sits in between our other two, our people and our capacity. It intentionally sits there because it's what bridges the gap between our people and the capacity that we're known for on the road. Technology becomes a critical piece to that. And innovation for us, it's a core value, along with integrity, respect, safety, and excellence. And our mission is to drive long-term value for our people, our customers, and our shareholders. It's the motivation behind everything that we do. In 2022, as a proud Walton College alum, as a matter of fact, I'm the third CEO consecutively that's a graduate from the University of Arkansas. You talk about homegrown, who says it can't happen right here in our state. We launched this announcement that changed the way we view the university, but it also changes the way the university and the world sees our two companies together. See, we'd been in partnership for more than a decade, really working towards supply chain solutions. But I remember our dean at that time, Dean Waller, early on when supply chain was a department, brand new, he was telling me all the things that he could do for us, and I flipped it on him and said, what can we do for you? He said, I have a vision, a dream one day that we could actually name the supply chain department together. And that's what we did in 2022. And now, after the second time Gartner has ranked the University of Arkansas Supply Chain Department as the #1 program in North America, I would say that's another example of where we've taken the best of two different companies and bridged those two together. And it's now called the J.B. Hunt Department of Supply Chain Management. It's the only named supply chain department in the U.S. Together, we're preparing future leaders from around the world. And if you walk into our corporate campus and you actually come across our land bridge, we have this huge mural that we've created. And it's for everyone that walks into our campus to understand our vision on technology, as you see 360 prominently displayed, along with the University of Arkansas at J.B. Hunt and how we think about our future. See, that it says the future of supply chain starts here. And if you look with me, you can see around all movements, the state of Arkansas is prominently raised. And for us, we think about Northwest Arkansas driving world-changing breakthroughs. We want to inspire those that come to see us, whether they're a vendor, a customer, or a potential employee. We want them all to recognize that Northwest Arkansas, it is possible. Here today, we're talking about global innovation, and that all started with one man and one vision.
Success is kind of a thing that it's hard to explain, but you've got to give it not 100% to be successful, because sometimes you're going to have to give a little more than that. I think you got to be dedicated to what you're going to do. Try to be the best you can be, and if you ever get to be best, you better work harder. If you don't, somebody's going to get around you.
To be the best that we can be, to work smarter, but he also said work harder, and I can promise you, we're working hard every day at J.B. Hunt. Recently, we announced a first-of-its-kind venture lab with UpLabs. We'll collaborate on the creation of a logistics venture, and our aim is to do 6 startups over the next 3 years, really at the heart of the biggest problems in our industry. You see, I love this story. We were on stage about a month ago, and John says to me, the CEO, he says, hey, do you even know how your name got brought up? Because we're the only transportation company, so it's companies like Porsche and Alaska Airlines that were before us. He said, I think he said he was in Los Angeles at the hangar, and Ross Perot Jr. actually looked at him, and they were talking about who should be next. And Ross Perot Jr. said, well, you should really think about a family-based company, a company that really has an entrepreneurial spirit. And he said, do you have anyone in mind? He said, J.B. Hunt. You know, I don't know Ross Perot Jr. Somehow he knows us, an Arkansas-based company with a dream and a vision 63 years ago of where we could take transportation. Our vision here is to reach our vision, which is create the most efficient transportation network in North America. This will help not only internally, but also will help our competitors. You see, we look at ourselves as a collaborator. We believe the market, some $600 billion plus, is significantly larger than any one competitor. There's plenty of business for all of us, but we have to reach some of the biggest obstacles and problems inside our business. And these opportunities that we'll be focused on with UpLabs will drive further efficiency and solve for the waste that exists inside the supply chain. You know, when we think about innovation, we see a strategy of bringing ourselves together. Instead of competitors, we're collaborators. Even when we failed, we try again. Even when change will be met with resistance, our next big innovation in our industry might just come from someone in this room. The future is made up of all of you, whether you're a college student thinking about starting your career, or you're seasoned in your career with 30 plus. All bright, all moving forward. I know there are leaders here that can not just change supply chain, but in Arkansas, we are the future and we can change the world. Thank you.